Hello there. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how you can build a theme manager for managing themes dynamically within DockShell. So out of the box, if we run this application, we don't have a theme manager. We don't ship with a theme manager for any of our providers because theme managers can be implemented in a variety of different ways. So if we run this application, we see no themes, and this is basically what you see is what you get. So let's now take a look at what we're going to build, and to do that I'm just going to minimize this and basically looking at this diagram here. So our theme manager is going to consist of really two pieces. The theme manager view model, so it's a theme management view model which will contain a collection of themes, and then a combo box which we will build as a UI fragment, and that UI fragment we will use our DockShell modeling approach to insert or inject this UI element into our view, and we will bind this combo box to this DockShell theme management view model that we're going to build. And one other step that we're going to implement is on initialization of the application, we're going to leverage MEF to get a hold of this particular theme management view model and add in the various themes that we want to be able to expose through the combo box. So that's kind of the overall functional design that we're hoping to achieve. And so let's take a look at the way you would do that in DockShell. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to skip over to our LightSwitch, our DockShell provider for Telerik. And we have some of this already completed, so we're just going to start to include these into the project and take a look at the code itself. So I'll just minimize this back and zoom in a little bit so we can see the code. So if we look here, there's really two classes that are within this file. One is this very simple entity class, which represents the DockShell theme itself. And so for each theme, we're going to have a type name, a display name, and the actual instance of the theme itself. Also included in this particular file is the actual view model itself. You can see here that we're exporting with a very specific name. This is so that we can get a reference to it in our initialization and also within our UI fragment view that we're going to build. Another point of interest here is that we are creating a singleton of this particular view model by changing this or setting this creation policy to shared. It tells MEF that only to create a single instance of it. So the first time we're going to request this particular control will be at the start when we initialize. On initialization, we're going to go and ask for an instance of this particular control, or view model rather. And so one of the first things that you'll note here is that on just on the inside of the class we have this MEF import tag, and we are importing the DockShell core service proxy. And the DockShell core service proxy, if you're not familiar with some of the other videos, is a bit of a gateway into DockShell. And we're going to use that within this particular theme manager. When applying the themes, we need to not only change the theme, but we need to apply it to all of the controls within our shell. And then you can see here is a very simple collection, observable collection of our type entity class, DockShell theme. And this is pretty much standard observable collection type approach as far as exposing a view model with a collection of items that you want to bind to, say, in this case, a combo box. So basically on our constructor, we initialize our themes collection, and our themes collection initially is empty, but we're going to show you that below that there is a method that we've added called add theme, and this will be called from the initialization of the application. On initialization of the application, we're going to get a reference to this view model, and then we're going to pass in the various themes and instances of those themes so that they get added to this collection of themes, called themes rather. So if I scroll back up, the collection itself is exposed here as a public property, observable of type themes. And if we scroll down here, we see set active theme. So set active theme is actually called when the selected item is changed. So here you see that the selected theme is a public property, and when it's changed, we call this set active theme, which in fact, if you look here, is calling this internal private method, passing in the current theme. And then this is where we use our DockShell service proxy, and it's specifically the DockShell core navigation service. And we enumerate through all of the navigation containers within DockShell. We are casting each one of these to a rad ribbon tab, and we are then grabbing the parent for the ribbon tab. In DockShell, you can have multiple ribbon views, so it's it's imperative that we do this in this manner. And then we simply leverage the Telerik style manager set theme method, passing in the parent ribbon view and establishing the theme that has been passed in. And we do the same thing for the content containers. So a content container in this scenario would be a docking control, and each navigation container can be related to one and only one content container. And so this is basically setting the docking control equal to the theme itself. If any of that fails, for instance, if we have an invalid theme, we're going to remove it when the exception is fired from the themes collection, and basically establish that the selected theme is the first theme. Okay, so that's pretty much our view model. So I will pause the video and come right back and show you our initialization code. So if we go and look at our initialization code, in our LightSwitch application, we would flip over from our logical view to our file view. We go from go into our client project, and what we've done here is we've just organized our solution folder called DockShell, and we've added this solution folder called Initialization. So what we'll do now is we actually have the initialization code done. So what we'll do is show all files and include that within our project. And let's take a look at this. So what we're doing here is we're using the overrides for the module initialization extension and the application initialization extension routines, and those are actually code generated for us from our model. Our T4 templates code generate out that those two methods right here and here, and basically they're partial classes, which gives us the ability to override and extend sort of on the initialization of DockShell anything that we want to. In this case, what we're going to do is in the module initialization, so once the module initialization is complete, we're going to set the application theme to be a default theme, which in this case will be Metro. It's important that this gets established in this particular module initialization because the Telerik style manager in this requires this to be done prior to you starting to add elements to the model itself, or views to the model itself. So that's why we set this style application theme on the import status side. Later on in the life cycle of the DockShell application or the framework, it'll call this initialized method. That's actually called, if you look here and you look right here, you can see that it's calling initializing. And just a little further down in this code, on shell initialized, it basically gets the iDockShell service proxy and makes it available for the application. But it also calls this virtual method of this partial class passing through that particular item. And that's actually what we're hooking right here. So this is basically the override to that. And you can see here The first thing that we're doing is we're establishing that it is not null and that there is a MEF container, which there should always be a MEF container at this point in the life cycle. And the very first thing that we want to do is get the dependency injection container for DockShell. So to do that, we use the mefcontainer.getContainer method, and that'll give us this composite container. At which point, if that is there, which it again should be there by default, the next thing we want to do is we want to then ask MEF to go and locate us the theme management view model, and that's this model here, view model that we created earlier. If you look here, this is the export tag, and it's the type is DockShell theme management view model, and that's exactly what we're asking for here. So we're asking MEF at this point, please go and locate and create an instance of this DockShell theme management view model. And as noted earlier, when it does that, it will resolve this reference for this particular class so that it's there and available in the class itself. So with the theme management view model in hand, we're simply calling that add theme method, and we're passing in the various attributes, establishing each of the themes that we want to make available to the particular application. You also have to, in Telerik, you also have to include those themes as references within your client application. So if we're looking here on our client, for example, and I scroll down, you can see that these themes have been included within the application itself. So that's something you have to do. You just put in your client references and you're good to go on that one. Okay, we're almost done. But if we go back and we look at our diagram of what we're trying to achieve, we've basically built this view model and we've initialized it, basically building out a collection of themes. But we still haven't built a UI fragment, even though that this is based on a UI fragment view model. We still need this piece here, and so let's go take a look at how to build that. So we'll just minimize this view here and go up to back to our Telerik view. And if we scroll down here, we also have included this in advance, so we'll just include this into our project and take a look at what we've got. Okay, so you can see here this is a very simple element. It's a user control. And inside that user control, we have a single rad combo box. And you can see that it's binding to themes and selected themes. And if you can imagine, that is this particular property here, themes. And of course, selected theme would be in here as well. There's selected theme. So that's the actual visual component, the user interface component. But we take a look at the code behind, and you can see here that we have this export named called theme selection combo box, and it just so happens to be the same name as the class, but it doesn't have to be, but they do have to be unique. And we are exposing this of type I DockShell UI Fragment, and by picking I DockShell UI Fragment, it's going to insist that you have a view model that is based on I DockShell UI Fragment view model, and that's in fact why we inherit from a DockShell UI Fragment view model on our particular themes class. So basically, there are some underlying properties that are used for management of regions and so forth for the fragments themselves, and that's why it's a good practice if you're going to build UI fragments to actually do it this way. So if we go back to our class, you can see here that what we're doing is we're using MEF again to go ahead and get us an instance of the that DockShell theme management view model. So in the life cycle of your DockShell application, this is going to happen well after initialization. But if you recall in initialization, we actually got a hold of the theme management view model at the very start of the application, and that's a singleton. Right, so that singleton was established by this creation policy. So there's only ever going to be one. So when this this UI fragment actually spins up eventually, it is actually going to when MEF goes and resolves this particular MEF component, it is going to return the same instance that we initialized at the very start of the application, and that's going to be set there. And then you'll notice that we, and this is very typical of our any DockShell component, we have this part import satisfied notification, and that interface has one required method, which is the onImportSatisfied, and it's here that we're actually taking this resolved instance of the DockShell theme management view model and establishing it as the view model for our particular view. In this case, it's this rad combo box here. And so basically, this fires once this is resolved. So as soon as we have all of our imports resolved, this will fire. And at this point, we're just setting our view model, which establishes our data context for our view. And we then we call this here. This isn't really necessary, but it's basically in the event that you want to set your selected theme to be to fire the selected theme event. Okay, so that's pretty much all we have to do from that vantage point. So so what we've done is we've put in a post-build event, and that post-build event is so that we can have our provider project inside our overall solution. And so when we build our provider project, it's copying the Telerik provider that we're building, this debug version instance of it, into our application's private extension LightSwitch DockShell client reference folder. If you don't do that, you will be always one compile out of sync of the last. So that essentially keeps you in sync. So let's build this first and make sure that we've got our all of our bits there. And you can see that it succeeded. All right, and now the next thing we want to do is we want to build our client, which will then now have that reference in it. And I'm just going to window close all our documents for a second, and I'm going to expose our model. So we go to our model and open that up. So this is the model that we're working on. So right now there is initialization happening, and if I was to run this as is, let's just see what it looks like. And at the same time, I've added a few breakpoints so that we can see it start up what happens. All right, so as the application spins up, what should happen? There we go. It calls the module initialization extension. So this is the imports have been satisfied method, and you can see here that we're just setting the Metro theme as the default. And sometime shortly thereafter, the initialized application initialize extension initialize method gets called, and you can see here we'll just step that through. So step one, we're getting the dependency container, injection container. Step two is we're getting an instance of the theme management view model. And again, this is the by name and by type. And there you go. There's our view model that we built earlier. And so here all we're doing is we're just simply adding, as I step through, you can see we're just simply adding our various views to that. And if I just run this, let it finish up, you can see now the Metro theme is applied. But we still don't have our Ui Fragment with our combo box in our application. So let's stop that. And let's go add that. Now we can just take these breakpoints off. And let's go to our model, get our toolbox. And so we're going to add a UI fragment. So what we'll do, and this is just as a test, so what we'll do is we'll link that to the ribbon bars action menu. And we need to select the property here. And if we've done our job, we should see, pull that down, the theme selection combo box. The theme selection combo box, that's actually the UI fragment view. So if I go back to our DockShell UI fragments, in particular here, what we're looking at here is this particular export name, theme selection combo box. So that's what we're seeing here when we click on this particular export. So let's go back and set that again. Pull that down. There we go. So that's what we're seeing here, and you can see this is the same metadata that we put inside our combo box itself. There you go. And if we want, we can just maybe give that a nice name that makes sense. So this is going to be our theme manager combo. There you go. All right, now if we hit run, what we're expecting to see now is the ability to actually make changes to the actual themes themselves. So interacting with the themes. Okay, so now you can see that we have a drop down, and if I pick summer, you can see that the summer theme has been applied. And transparent. It's probably better if I open up a window here so we can see that. There we go. So now if I go summer, expression dark, metro, transparent, and Windows 7. And so as you can see, the overall goal has been achieved, which was to have a theme management capability within a running application. And as a recap, we have created a UI fragment, which is a simple combo box that is bound to a view model, which we call DockShell theme management. And in that view model, we have a collection of themes, and those themes are initialized at the very start. So there's a great example of how you build a end-to-end theme management for Telerik in DockShell. For more information on DockShell, please visit our website at www.softlandingcanada.com. Thank you and have a great day.